There is a company called Enhanced Innovation. This is a startup operating out of Delhi, and this startup has its brand product called Phloton. Phloton is a cold chain device used to transport vaccines, medicine, and other perishable items. This is mainly used in healthcare and last mile delivery of vaccines. Welcome to Saur Energy. This is Manish Kumar, and you are watching Startup Talks. So thank you, Ankita, for joining Saur Energy on this special conversation. So in this series, we basically talk with the startups about on the ideas, how the ideas came, and how they're working in the solar landscape. So first question: how exactly when the idea of launching using this product came, and how was the overall journey? How the planning happened, and how many people started this?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, first of all, on your platform, Manish. It's a pleasure to be here. To tell you a little bit about how we started. So basically, we started a startup called Enhanced Innovations back in 2021. It was started by me and my brother. Both of us have had the good fortune of having been exposed to grassroots in India and in Africa for a while now. My brother spent about 2 years in Africa, in Rwanda. For the last 7-8 years, I've been traveling the length and breadth of the country, looking at different sustainable development challenges that the country faces, right from digital inclusion to education to health and nutrition. And in all of these journeys that both of us had, we realized that we may talk about taking socio-economic development to the last mile, but before that, we need to ensure survival of the people. And for that, the biggest hurdle is having quality last mile healthcare. And for that, one of the biggest factors is immunization coverage. And there's a WHO statistic that says 50% of all manufactured temperature sensitive vaccines are wasted globally. Okay. That's a huge number. That's a huge monetary loss. That's a huge loss of life, of actually not being able to prevent preventable diseases. So, and there are about 2.5 million children in India who are either partially vaccinated or not vaccinated at all, and that is a big number. If we look at how much socioeconomic losses that actually means for the country, the GDP implications are huge. So when we looked at all of this, and this is back just before the pandemic hit, and as soon as the pandemic hit, we realized that these thoughts that we were having, these conversations that we were having before the pandemic, they just suddenly became front and center. They became one of the biggest challenges that humankind has faced in modern days, where the entire global machinery just came to a standstill, and the only thing that everybody wanted was a vaccine. Now, that was very easy for people like us in urban centers to access. Even if nobody else gets it, at some point or the other, the government will make sure that you and I, sitting in a Delhi or a Mumbai or a Chennai or a Bangalore, will be able to access a vaccine. But what happens to the people who are not in urban centers? So for them, making sure that these vaccines, not just COVID, for any other pandemic that may come in the future, or even for regular vaccines like MMR or your hepatitis vaccinations or any other vaccines that may be needed, how do we make sure that these vaccines reach the right people at the right time?
So it was around the year like COVID happened, I think in 2019. So
Exactly.
COVID in a big way impacted your thoughts?
Absolutely, it did. It became we understood the urgency of what we want to do. Like, this can't wait. Like, we cannot think that this is something we'll do 5 years down the line when we have more clarity. We realize that this is something that we need to do now, because we don't know when the next pandemic is going to hit. We don't know how severe it's going to be. It could be much worse than what we saw with COVID. So then we kind of started working with scientists at the National Physical Laboratory. We worked with them to identify the most efficient cooling mechanism that we can probably use to develop a device like Phloton.
Okay.
And there we realized that thermoelectric technology, it's been around for hundreds of years at this point in time. Cell phones, laptops, to some extent, smartwatches, they all use the same technology to cool down the chips and the processing units, and that's what we built Phloton on. And that's where because we always had the vision of making it an off-grid solution, eventually integrating solar energy to power the device, That's where the name of the device came from, Phloton. So it's a play on photon, which is what is going to power the device, and because we want to make it sort of float throughout, making it easy to carry, no complications there, hence a little.
So does the word like photon also is derived, inspired by photons that the use of sunlight?
Absolutely. So the idea was that not only was it a differentiating factor for us in the device, but then it sort of tied in with our vision of making this a last mile solution. And last mile for us doesn't mean that, okay, wherever you have the last grid power point, that's not my last mile. My last mile is that very remote village where you may have a kacha road also, you may have no road also, but somebody should be able to take life-saving vaccines, life-saving insulin to anybody in that village as well. And how do I do that? One thing that the country has in abundance is sunlight. So how do I make sure that my solution uses that and takes what is needed to the people who need it the most?
So what exactly your technology offers? What kind of product it is? What kind of components it comprises? And how exactly it helps in the vaccine conservation or supply of vaccines in rural areas, remote areas?
Right, absolutely. So Phloton is, like I said, it's a portable cold chain solution. It can be used to carry vaccines, any temperature sensitive medication, diagnostic samples, or any other temperature sensitive material that you may want to transport. It can also be used as a standalone refrigeration unit. So what it basically is, it consists of a cooling chamber, a 2-liter chamber, which can carry up to 40 vials of vaccines. And then it has the thermoelectric cooling unit that we have. And then it has obviously a lithium-ion battery. We are also trying to see if we can get a more eco-friendly battery solution implemented, but that's a little in the future. So, and the only moving part in this entire thing is that one fan that sort of just makes sure that the heat sink functions properly. Apart from that, unlike traditional cooling systems where there are refrigerants that are compressed and all sorts of gases and other materials are there, we have nothing like that. It's a completely rugged, fixed system, and the only thing that moves in the entire piece is the fan. So what this once this device is switched on, it's charged, it's switched on, it takes it about 10 minutes. We've tested it so rigorously at this point in time. 10 minutes is a safe number to tell you, but the actual number is much less than that. So between 7 to 8 minutes is what we've observed. You will go from room temperature to about 4.5 degrees Celsius, which is between 2 to 8 degrees is where most of your temperature sensitive medication needs to be stored. So we achieve that in about 7 minutes. The battery life right now, depending obviously on ambient temperatures, lasts for about anywhere between 8 hours to 10 hours. And that's it. As soon as you see the battery levels dropping, you can plug the device in and charge it, which can be done through regular power sockets. And the device also comes with an integrated solar panel module. So you just plug that in, put it out into the sun. Takes about 3.5 hours for it to go from 0 to 100% charge on solar panels. So that's on how the device functions. I think if you'd like me to get in a little bit more on the applications for this device, I already told you about the pharmaceutical and the medicinal applications. But the device actually has the potential to make a difference in many other sectors as well. One of them, of course, being we are actively working on that also now. I'll get into it a little bit more in detail. We're working on animal husbandry as well.
Okay.
So
beyond vaccines?
Beyond vaccines. So, and I'll tell you why we're doing that as well. So right now, because it's a human healthcare product that we want to position Phloton as, what's happening is that for that we require regulatory approvals. Without the CDSCO, which is the Central Drug Control Authority, without their approval, I cannot use this in a full-fledged commercial medical application.
Anything private or government?
No, cannot. I just can't. It needs to have that certification. So we are hoping to get that certification soon. But regulatory processes take their own time and everything. So in the next few months or so, we should have that. We also want to make sure that our product is still cutting edge, it is still doing what it's intended to do in the right settings, and we're also exploring other applications for it. So here we came across an opportunity to introduce Phloton in the animal husbandry space. And what we mean by animal husbandry is that with bovine industry, So you have artificial insemination, which is a common practice for all, cattle farmers, so to say, at milk farms, at dairy farms, so on and so forth. And the semen samples that they use for artificial insemination also require a particular temperature range to be maintained. That's that's a place where Phloton has been very, very helpful. They also require to test milk samples. So very frequently they need to take milk samples for testing to make sure the quality, purity, all of those things are maintained. So that's again a place where Phloton has been helpful. We worked with the camel industry as well in Rajasthan with Urmul, where they wanted to use this for camel vaccinations and camel tissue samples and so on and so forth. So we really kind of went out there to see where all Phloton will make a difference. Animal husbandry is one. F&B, commercial F&B is another place where this can be used. Cosmetics, again temperature sensitive, require to extend the shelf life. They should be cooled. You've got flower industry. You've got
Anything perishable.
anything perishable. Basically, we can use Phloton for that. And the Phloton model itself, the model is very modular. So what I mean by that is right now we've got a 2-liter device. This is meant for again last.
That is the most conventional common thing is 2-liter device.
Absolutely. So that makes it easy to carry. It makes it very portable. We can scale this up to 5 liters, 10 liters, 30 liters for commercial refrigeration as well.
Okay.
So that basically means that you will have a standalone refrigeration unit that is not relying on your traditional refrigerants. So what this is also intended to do is reduce the overall carbon footprint of refrigeration, because traditional refrigerants are greenhouse gases, and eventually they lead to a lot of climate. Eventually lead to climate change more severely than any other human activity. So that is one factor. The other factor is that the life of the device compared to the traditional cooling methods is ice packs are typically used. We've all seen those ice packs that are in everybody's refrigerator. Sometimes food comes on them, sometimes medicines come on them.
So the demand for ice is also going down.
Absolutely. So these ice packs, a lot of people don't tend to store them back in the refrigerator. A lot of times they're just discarded. And these again are not, they're adding plastic to the environment, they're adding other harmful chemicals to the environment. So Phloton is also a step towards mitigating these issues. And that in a nutshell is how we are looking at sort of.
We have seen several success stories of off-grid solar or decentralized solar. So your system also comes with where you're using solar in the system. So why you're opting for solar? Why solar? What are the main advantages you see?
So one big advantage is that was one energy source that was as portable as the device was. That is one thing, that I can have a lightweight solar panel module which can travel with my Phloton device, can be plugged in anywhere. Like I said, sunlight is in abundance, and barring certain pockets where it's always cloudy like Meghalaya, but by and large everywhere else in the country we get a lot of sunlight. So it's easy for whoever, and plus it's a no-brainer. It does not require intense training. It does not require a skill to be learnt by anybody who wants to use this. It's a plug and play thing. You take the solar panels, you put them out in the sun, plug it into the device, and that's it, you're good to go.
But conventionally we see that there are these panels to study, we need other structures to support that. So how you're handling the issue of portable solar?
So we actually, how we've started with this is that we started using foldable panels. When I say foldable panels, the panels themselves are not folding, but they come in a casing that has individual panels, but which can be folded and then put away. So all that we've tested this out, we just open it up, put it on the ground, plug that into the device, and we're good to go. It does not require a certain angle or anything, because that becomes difficult. Ideally, I know that the most efficient way of using a solar panel would be to put it at a certain angle, which varies as per the movement of the sun to maximize the gains. But for us, we also understand that ours is a last mile solution, and we cannot burden the last mile health worker with an added step or an added technical burden to bear while they are doing something which is critical, like saving lives. So that's why we've kept it simple. That's why we are not at this particular stage. We are not, very. We're not really aggressively going after the most efficient angle to capture solar power for the device. This is something that if we are able to crack a design which enables us to do that in a portable format, we'll be more than happy to do it. And we are currently developing our own in-house solar panel design.
You could have the option of getting just plugged in into any grid system, any switches. So you're doing it willingly, using solar willingly?
Absolutely. That was one of the reasons why we actually even thought of solar, is because what is the one thing that is stopping refrigeration or cooling solutions or cold chain solutions from reaching the last mile? The biggest barrier there is power. I need a high amount of power to run a deep freezer. And every single nook and corner of the country does not have that sort of power capacity right now. Even if they do, it's not extended 24-hour power, right? So, but does that mean that they don't deserve life-saving medication or vaccines? How do we bridge that gap? So it was, since the inception of Phloton, it had to be with a solar panel integrated in it. We designed it in such a way that's why our beginning was to just use a plug and play model. That how easy can we make it for somebody to use this device when they are out in the field, and they can be of any technical skill level. That was another thing that we did not want. We wanted a solution to be as easy to use for the common person as possible. So that's why we've made sure that it does not require high technical skills. It does not require engineering know-how. It does not require any special skilling to operate. We tell you there are 2 buttons, you press them, you open the box, you take out what you need, you put it back, you close the door, close the box again, that's it. And in fact, we've kept the device also ensures that you are getting live updates on the temperature.
Okay.
So there is a 4G module embedded in the electronics of the device, which track multiple data points. One, it keeps a track of how long was the lid of the box open to calculate cooling losses. It monitors the chamber temperature, which is the most critical thing which we need to maintain. It monitors battery usage. It monitors distance traveled, GPS location, all of that. It is able to capture all of that, which is then at the back end fed to the user, of course, who's got the app for the device, and they can just track all of this. And it also feeds back into an AI ML module that we are currently building to sort of prevent any adverse events from happening.
Okay.
So in case of, like with any physical hardware, while this is a completely foolproof system, there are situations when there could be a malfunction, whether there could be an abject battery failure, or there could be just any other thing that is making, which is losing the cooling effect of the device. So those things can be predicted. So any failures are analyzed, and that sort of feeds back into the machine learning loop that kind of predicts these things, does a predictive analysis, make sure that alerts are generated on time. So this also kind of brings in more accountability, more transparency in the entire cold chain.
So just compare it with a conventional rooftop system. So in rooftop systems, we have solar panels. Then it produces current in DC, and through these inverters it converts into AC, and then it goes to the households.
Absolutely.
And we use. So from the technology point of view, how you are using it, you just explained a few things about that. So how your system is operating directly with the solar panel, how exactly it works?
Right. So right now, like I said, we were using an off-the-shelf solution for the solar panel, which basically meant that there are these solar panel devices that are used to charge mobile phones. And you would have seen those solutions. They're little portable solar panels that are very easy to carry around, and you just plug those into your mobile phone and you're good to go. So those come with those converters already installed. They're very small because the power that we are generating is very little. We are nowhere close to the commercial large-scale solar power plants, right? So that is what we are using right now. What we are also, that's also something that I had mentioned, that we are trying to get to a place where we design our own solar panel module for Phloton, which ties in more accurately into what we are trying to do, which by which we can optimize the amount of power we are generating. The angles that we spoke about that the solar panels need to be at, we're trying to figure out if we can have a design that facilitates that while making sure that it's still portable, it's still as easy to use and carry as a plug-in, an off-the-shelf solution.
Let's move away from the technology and look at the implementation part. So, how many states you have your presence? Where in which collaborations you're working with?
So, right, like I said, we are currently in the middle of field trials across the country. Why we are doing this is to make sure when we say, again, going back to the vision for Phloton, which is everybody gets vaccinated, everybody gets medicated as they require it, in the most remotest corners also. So irrespective of where they are. So we are trying, we've taken basically the north, the south, the east and the west of the country. We've sent out our devices through various partners for field testing. Some cases it's been on mobile health vans to store certain medical supplies. In other cases, it's been in the animal husbandry space. Again, in the in the deserts of Rajasthan, to the swamps of Odisha, to the plains of Uttar Pradesh, the varied landscape of Karnataka. So we've sent it out to all of these places